Hey everyone, it's Rob Stanley with Sell Growth Podcast. Today I'm here with Jason Kumpf of OFX. What's up, Jason?
Hey guys, hey Robbie, thanks for having me again.
Yeah,
This is awesome. That's so
everybody
professional,
jumping in
Robbie.
live. Yeah, sorry. Everybody jumped in live. I do apologize. We did have a little technical difficulty. We just got it fixed, so I wanted to make sure Jason's pretty face was on so we could all see him and hear his great information. So today we are talking about how Amazon sellers are winning in the European market. And Jason, why don't you kick us off and start telling us about like how are some of these Amazon sellers, what are they doing to kind of get that win? Like what are they doing to win in these European markets?
Sure. So, and just before we even get there, a lot of U.S. clients are on the U.S. market, obviously, right? They're on Amazon.com. It's really easy to, you've got 300 million Americans that are here in the U.S. The European market has another 400 million. So a lot of groups will go into Canada and into the UK, into the European market, very simply with Amazon, and then expand basically their potential buyers by doubling, so 200% increase in the potential buyers. So that's the reason a lot of groups do it. We notice that better sellers do that, although there's some sellers that actually start off selling in the UK or in Germany, in France, because the competition is a lot less severe than it is in the US. So whatever you're selling here in the US, you're making, let's say, a 15, 25, 35% margin. You can probably do another 10% margin on that because your costs are a little bit lower and your competition is a little bit lighter. So that's kind of the overall why people are going international and why people do that. We see some clients that actually drop their whole US business and just focus on Europe, because if you're making $1.20 here for every dollar you spend, but in Europe you're making $1.30, you don't have an endless amount of money, right? Whether you're doing $1 million a year or we have clients doing, 400 million a year, they're focused just on the European markets. So that's the overview. And the reason and the way we help people is giving them those bank accounts, right? So you can set up, Amazon makes it really easy for you guys to sell abroad. And then we make it very easy for you guys to bank abroad. And that's basically the high level on that.
Yeah, and we'll get into that some more, definitely. So Jason, we obviously, it seems like a lot of U.S. sellers, kind of the first move is Canada usually, because it's really easy, right? You got that, border, you can get your products there pretty quickly. Now, Europe, when you're talking about Europe, there's obviously a lot of countries in Europe. So what have you guys seen specifically? Like what countries do a lot of the sellers seem to jump in first? Is it like, England? Or are they going to Germany? And, what kind of, are they getting better returns than they were than Canada versus Canada? What have you seen on that?
100%, Rob. So definitely they'll go to Canada first, and then they'll go to UK next, just because it's English speaking. Some will pop over to Australia too. I mean, really, once you're on the Amazon system, it doesn't matter whether you go to Europe or some other place. A lot of people will just find the English speaking countries. It's a little bit easier, right? So they'll do Canada, they'll do Australia, and just to let you know, big brands use Australia as a testing ground. Groups like Levi's, Nike's, big ones like that will test market in Australia because it's so similar to the US market. And the big benefit, if you guys have a brand, is that if something happens in Australia and it doesn't work out, no one really knows in the US. And that's definitely the viewpoint, like, the Nikes and the bigger companies will look at that, right? But if it hits there, you're filtered it down to probably more successful product in the US and then Europe. So they definitely start with the English speaking groups and then go into the larger ones. So it'll be UK and then usually France or Germany. That can flip around, either Germany and France, and then Italy and Spain is usually the way we see it.
Yeah, and what about also targeting specific products towards those countries? Like maybe there's a product that doesn't necessarily work as well in the US or maybe even Canada, but in Europe, maybe it's a bigger hit. Have you seen anything like that? And could you maybe disclose a category at least that maybe you've seen that happen in?
Definitely that happens. And interestingly, what sometimes happens is the US is still the leader of trends, right? And a lot of stuff comes out of California or New York, and then that kind of migrates to the rest of the US and then the rest of the world. So what you can sometimes see, and what we've seen, is clients selling things that used to be really hot in the US a year, 2, 3 years, even longer sometimes ago. Selling, and they might have dropped off sales in the US market, but they're upticking in the European market. So, and that's kind of across the board. That's obviously, you know, fashion would probably be the number one thing there, but any other trend, like everything's basically a trend now, right? So that could be, you know, some electronics, maybe some add-on, some accessories to electronics, depending on how much uptick you get in different categories, like kind of personal use things like nootropics or kind of things like that. Although the differences between the governing bodies of that can be difficult, but I would definitely say in fashion or trendy things, you'll see that, or new uses. Sometimes there'll be like a made for, you know, TV kind of infomercial that has like a spork, and maybe that's really hot here in the US because they're, you know, the TV ads are running those, and you're hopping on the back of that by making a better, you know, spork version 2.0. And in Europe, it hasn't really hit yet, right? Those things hit maybe a year or two later. So it could be across the board.
Yeah, so I was just kind of brainstorming on that. I'm wondering if, like, if you have a really hot product in the US, and you know, sometimes the products are trends like we were just talking about, and they in at a point either more competition comes on board or maybe it slows down a little bit your sales. Maybe that's a good time to maybe take it over to the European market and see if maybe it's a big hit over there or picks up. Now, have you seen people do it that direction, or do you kind of see like you know, them bringing it in the US and then bringing it into the European market at the same time, to not miss out on possibility of it being a bigger hit sooner over there? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. So we used to see people do like the add-on effect, right? I'm selling it here and it's working, or, you know, it's working well and I'll try it in the European market. Why not that too, right? If it's trending here, well, now more and more with Instagram and all the online, you know, trends pick up quicker, right? So you could do it that way, or they do it like we discussed before. It used to be big here. Let's see if I can sell this in Europe. But yes, more and more now people are like, let's just launch globally everywhere at the same time and get the most bang for the buck right up front. And also you kind of have a diversified portfolio, because something that you thought might hit in the US, maybe it doesn't hit as well as you thought it was. Maybe it doesn't take off, but you know, wow, like in in France, the French market loves it and it goes well there. So at least you're up somewhere, right? It's almost like a stock portfolio. You're investing in a couple different companies, or this, you know, you're doing the same thing for yourself and for your own business, diversifying that.
Yeah, I would almost do some research on, you know, if I'm going to go, let's say, into the European market, like what's hot over there. You know, there's obviously, not that we need to mention the million tools out that everybody's aware of to do research, you know, but I would almost do some research and see what's hot there and maybe bring stuff in there that maybe I don't bring in the US. Maybe things are hotter over there. I would almost, you know, if I have a source for it, introduce those products over there. Now, real quick, everyone, Jason obviously he's given us some great information. He is really specialized in helping you with like money transfers and setting up bank accounts, and we'll get into that. And let me tell you, there's a lot of savings there with what he offers. We are just trying to give some general information. You know, obviously, with Jason working with all these big people, he gets to see a lot more information, and he can only disclose so much. But he's got some great tips, and these are really cool. And that's why I wanted to touch on these first before we dive more into, you know, kind of the big part about saving money, which obviously saving money makes you money. So be sure to hit that like and subscribe. So I appreciate everybody watching. If you have any questions as we go, please be sure to, you know, put those in the comment section. Jason will be happy to answer them for you, or I will. So yeah, let's keep going. So what about also dealing with, now, a lot of people seem to be scared to go to the European market. I mean, Canada's close by. It's kind of an easy one. You can pretty much get a truck. They'll come pick it up, you know, if it's here in the warehouse, or ship it directly in from China. But, you know, there seems to be a lot of logistics things and a lot of issues getting those items. Let's face it, most of it comes from China over to Europe. What kind of struggles have you seen with some of the sellers getting stuff over there, as far as getting it in and things like that?
Yeah, I think it used to be more difficult actually, but Amazon's done a good job of consolidating that. We'll see what happens with Brexit and what effects that has. But it's gotten better and better over the last 5 years since we've been really paying attention to it and watching it. But there is a little bit of a hurdle, but that's also a hurdle to all the competitors in the US going there. And the hurdle's not much. And once you do it one time, maybe twice, you're really good at it. You can make it work. It's a quote I saw the other day. No one started off great, but everyone who's great started, right? And I think that's what I see from the most successful sellers that we have. They all have that idea. In this space, it's about taking very small mitigated risks and trying to do something that other groups aren't doing. And just for my fellow Americans, right, and Canadians, this is a great thing. We're kind of spoiled with a great market here, but don't be afraid to to at least try. Try it once or twice and see how it works, and you'll be surprised how well it does. And also, you're going to be the first one. If you can be early in a category, as you all know, that means a huge amount to you, right? So if you can be earlier in a French market or a Spanish market or German market that's maybe saturated in the US, that's a huge advantage. What would you pay for that advantage to go back in the US and redo that like 5, 6 years ago? So you still have that opportunity to some degree overseas.
Yeah. So before we jump into the next question, and don't answer this one yet, but we're going to find out from Jason, when you're ordering these items from China and you're going to say either ship them to the US or ship them over to Europe, there's some really cool ways and creative ways that the company he works with have come up with to help you save some money, and like I always say, saving money is making money. But we got a real quick break with our sponsor, AccrueMe. Hang tight. All sellers are looking to grow their business. Why not take advantage of the AccrueMe.com grow now and pay later option? AccrueMe is not a bank. They truly only win when you win with growth capital funding. What are you waiting for? Head on over to AccrueMe.com now. Be sure to mention the podcast. Yeah, so welcome back to the Seller Growth Podcast, and thanks for that quick break. When you guys do head over to AccrueMe.com, make sure to mention the podcast. I really appreciate that. And today I've got Jason Kumpf from OFX, and we're talking about how Amazon sellers are winning in the European market, and we're going to jump into that and get pretty detailed here. So, Jason, first of all, just so everybody knows, I've known Jason almost 3 years, getting close to 3 years here, and he's a great guy, has a lot of information, a lot of areas. But Jason, why don't you just start off with what are some of the ways that some of these big sellers you're dealing with are saving money? Let's start with the first part being when they're ordering from China.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rob. So basically, when you're ordering from China, there's a couple of different ways you can make that more beneficial to your business and add profits to it. One is, speaking with someone like us. There's a couple other companies out there. I'm biased. I think we're the best. But you can have an FX expert kind of walk you through what you're doing and kind of analyze what you're doing to make sure you're maximizing currency fluctuations to the best of for your company's ability, right? So number one is you're probably paying the Chinese in US dollars. Sometimes that's a great option. Sometimes it's more beneficial to pay them in local currency. If their currency devalues by 3, 5, 10%, then you're better off paying them in their local currency. If the dollar, like it's recently, is devalued, then you're better off paying in dollars. The other added benefit is if you're using a bank to do that, you're probably paying $40. I've seen up to $120 bank wire fees for dollar. And we can do those for a lot less, like closer to $25. So that's an easy, quick savings. If you're paying 40 and you're going down to 25, that's $15. That's lunch for the day at least, right? So that's not
Absolutely.
too bad. And if you're doing a currency fluctuation play, that could be 1 to 10%. So that could be significant money on, $100,000, $1,000, $10,000. That means a lot.
Yeah, I have to say there's been times when I was doing the Amazon selling that I would literally go do some calculations and see that they were padding it. They were padding, if I was paying US dollars, they were padding it for that adjustment. And then also, and I'm not sure if this is still true, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, you might know a little more. sometimes they run into limits, if I'm not mistaken. Like certain businesses will run into limits on how much US currency they can take. Can you address that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. I'll address both. So definitely the Chinese manufacturers and the people you're buying from are smart business people, and they're trying to be as conservative as possible and maximize their profits. You're there and you're trying to make it a fair win-win, not like huge win over there, small win over here for you. At least make it even. So that's definitely you want to make sure that you're watching those currency fluctuations and make sure they're not padding it too much. And maybe you can pad it a little bit on your side to even that out. And again, with OFX, you can talk to an expert in-house and they'll walk you through that. We know you're not a currency expert. These guys are watching, women and men watching the currency market all day, all night even. We're 24/7. So they'll be able to like tell you what's going on and really help inform you on that. And then on the second angle, there are definitely definitely different things that happen on the currency markets where you want to be ahead of it as well. So you can book in forward, you can book in other things where you're locking rates in and kind of like set the rate now for a better return down the road. So those are kind of two things. And what was your other question, Rob? Sorry.
Oh no!
I was so
Now you
impressed
made me
with
forget.
I was so impressed with your advertisement in the beginning. I wanted to say something. It's awesome.
That's funny because I was already thinking about the next question I was going to ask
Yeah.
you. So actually, we'll
Yeah.
just go on, and I'm sure it'll come back up. So
Sure.
yeah, that's some great information that you provided there. And I was actually going to mention something about how there's been times I've actually gone back to my manufacturer and I said, hey, do I get a discount if I pay in your local rate? And they actually said, yeah, like that, it'll be this much less if you pay in the local rate. I think I was asking about you about the limitations. Sometimes there's limitations
Yes.
on how much
Yeah.
US currency. Go ahead and address that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know why I forgot about that? Because we don't have limitations. So that's not a world I'm used to having limitations. Yeah, but there's other providers that have limitations. For us, for business providers, we can do ACHs for an extended amount of money. And also, yes, some businesses there may have limitations too. So that's where our global currency accounts kind of come in as well. So we can actually offer the Chinese groups currency accounts in the US where you can pay them directly through that account. They receive the money almost instantly as well. And that reduces any kind of limit restrictions that you may be getting from that. But also just from a pure provider standpoint, we're really built for $5 to $5 million transactions, $5,000 to $5 million transactions. Some other groups similar to us aren't really capable of doing that size of transaction in one go. We're really built from the ground up to handle that. So that's another thing on the limitations. And usually 5 million a pop is pretty good. And we can do more. We've done, I think our largest one was 120 million in one pop. So yeah, we can do that.
That's really good. Yeah, and I was mainly referring to like I remember some of the manufacturers I was dealing with, like they would say, "Oh, this account that we have has a limit on it as far as receiving U.S. currency."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they would open in like another China bank account, and then I'd have to send it there, and which wasn't a problem, but it was just kind of a headache, changing everything around. So
Yeah.
hopefully everybody gets
So-
kind of what we're getting at here. There obviously, if you're ordering from China and you're either shipping your items to the US or Europe, like we're going to start talking about even more here, there's a lot of ways you could save money. So, Jason, what about like, do you guys do anything regarding helping when it goes to Europe, as far as like VAT or bank accounts over there on the incoming? And then we'll talk about the outgoing money after that.
Yeah, so definitely that payments we usually do at no rate, no cost rate. So it's just interbank direct. We know no one likes paying tax, so we don't try to make money off you paying tax. So that happens, and then yes, we can do because these collections account, these currency accounts as we call them, global currency accounts, and then you can receive funds, from Amazon, from other marketplaces directly into your OFX account. And you'll see that quickly. And then you can, from that account in Europe, if it's a euro account, the UK is a pound account, you can send and receive funds from that too. So if you do need to pay the VAT from there, you can do it directly from that account. So you're receiving money from Amazon UK, and you're sending out money to the UK tax authorities or German tax authorities, et cetera, or suppliers or advertisers in country, right? So you don't have to bring the money all the way back and then send it back again. And you can really do that quite easily with our network.
Yeah, and so that was also like covering the VAT if you have to pay the local VAT, right? Did I get that right? Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
And is there any other fees that maybe I missed? Because I actually did not sell in Europe myself. I did sell a little bit into Canada before I exited. But so is there any other fees besides that VAT? Like, is there local taxes and things like that you also pay?
So yeah, any taxes, you can pay anything with us, right? So the VAT and the taxes will do for, we're not trying to make a margin. Obviously our business, we make money off of a very small margin off all the transactions, minus those ones that are like we just discussed. There's no other fees. So there's no monthly maintenance fee or anything like that, or account setup fee or anything like that. So it's very clean. And we really try to be fair on that and give you a big value add. And usually Amazon's charging like 1.75%. With us, you're going to be, below 1%. If you're doing high volume, you're going to be below 0.5%. So it can be very significant savings. On $100,000, you're looking at least kind of $1,000, maybe $1,500 savings. So if you do that every week, that's what, $6,000 a month.
That can add up.
It can add up pretty quick. That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Absolutely. And so we're going to start talking about getting your money, like if you're selling over in Europe or Canada or even Australia, how to get that money back over. We're going to jump into that next, but stay tuned for a quick commercial break.
This content is brought to you by AccrueMe, the business-friendly funding solution for Amazon sellers. If you're a profitable Amazon seller looking for capital to grow your profits, click the link around this video or visit accrueme.com for a no-risk funding estimate in less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, so welcome back to Seller Growth Podcast. Today, my guest is Jason Kumpf from OFX, and we are basically talking about how people are winning, selling. Amazon sellers are winning, selling in Europe, and some of the ways they are winning, and maybe some tips that maybe you didn't know that some of these bigger sellers use to save money. And we're going to dive right into this. And just real quick at the end, make sure you stay tuned. If you have any questions, be sure to hit them in the comment section. Hit that like and subscribe if you're over on YouTube. And Jason, let's start getting into when people sell in Europe, they get their money into their Amazon European account, and then they have to get it over to their US bank account. Let's go into kind of that process and how you guys come in to save them money.
Sure. So the money will be collected via Amazon. So they're their merchant processing group, right? So they're collecting via their network. And then they ask you, which bank account do you want to send the funds to? So we'll give clients a European, so if it's we're talking the Eurozone, a Euro account. So instead of having Amazon do the transaction fee, the transfer from their Amazon Euro account to your US dollar account or your Canadian account, depending where you're based out of, it'll go right from Amazon Euro account to your new OFX Euro account. So that's same currency, so there's no fees there. And then you can either pay out from their local currency if you need to, and most people have it automatically moved back to the US. So as soon as it hits that account, then it gets moved over to the your US dollar account for a smaller margin, basically. So that's where you're saving, at least 75% on your currency exchange. And so on $100,000, if Amazon's charging you, 1.75, you're getting it for less than 1% here. Let's say you're getting it for 0.75. So you're saving $1,000 for every $100,000 you're sending that way.
Yeah. So step me a little through this. You keep mentioning bank account, bank account, bank account. So in my head, I'm like, oh crap, how many forms do I have to fill out to get this bank account in China and this bank account in Europe? And because they always have to go through those, at least in the US, right? When you're setting it up. So maybe step us through like a little bit of how that works. And then you did mention the savings and fees. Maybe just cover that one more time.
Sure. So yeah, I'm so used to it, right? So sometimes you explain it too fast. But basically, you sign up, you register for an account with OFX. That is opening up a one-time account with OFX, and then you choose what other currency accounts you want associated to that account. So if you're a U.S. seller and you're planning on selling in Australia, Canada, Europe, and the UK, you would ask for UK a pound account, a euro account, an Aussie dollar account, and a Canadian dollar account. So you get all four accounts basically the next day, sometimes 2 days. So you'd have those accounts from that one account opening. And that account opening takes about 20 minutes. We ask you for some KYC data, so your ID, your incorporation documents, and then what you're selling, that kind of stuff. It's really quick. And then you're up and running. Basically, like I said, the next day, and then you can upload those accounts into your Amazon accounts globally. So you'd upload your Euro bank account into your Amazon Euro seller account, and you'd upload your pound, your new OFX pound account into UK, and your Aussie dollar into Aussie dollar, and you do that once. So it's definitely set it and forget it. So it sounds like a lot in the beginning, but it's really one account opening and then inserting that account. If you're just doing Euro, it's just doing it to the Euros, into your Euro account, your Euro Seller Central. And then you're done. And then you can put in an auto pay. So then we just send you the money back as soon as possible each time there's money that hits that account. And you're saving that $1,000 for every 100,000.
Yeah, that's
for as long as you use
perfect.
the service, right? There's no other fees. You don't even have to think about it, right? It's in the back end. I have clients that haven't logged into their account in a year and a half, right? They're just getting the money, they're getting the savings, and they're done. So it took them 20 minutes to upload. They open up their OFX account. They uploaded it. Maybe that's another like 5 or 10 minutes per Amazon account they've got. So really within an hour, you're saving all day long, and you never have to log into it again, right? So it's pretty nice.
Yeah,
I tell people it's one of the best ROIs for an hour, right? For an hour of your time, it's a pretty darn good ROI. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what about length of time? Okay. Everybody's concerned how fast are they going to get their money once they do this process? So maybe kind of give us an idea of how long the process takes. Let's say from Europe. If we're getting it from Europe to my US bank account, what kind of time frame is that going to take from Amazon to this account to me? And then also touch on if I missed any other ways you guys are saving people money in Europe.
Yeah, sure. So I'll go through the times first. So from Europe to the US, that's usually next day. So if you're doing that, Germany, 4 p.m. in the afternoon, you'll see that in your account in the US the next morning. If you do it after hours in Germany, we still have to wait for the bank to open up the next morning. So it would be initiated the next morning, and you would receive that. You could still receive that the next day, but it could be the following day. So it's usually within 24 hours. I think 80% of our payments happen within 24 hours. So it's pretty quick. And yeah, that's it from Amazon. It's pretty fast. And they're also, we're part of their partner program. So we're always looking at ways to improve that speed and the overall service too.
Yeah, so maybe just elaborate a little bit what the partner program means. What's that mean for sellers as far as like, basically having guarantees that they're going to get their money, that you guys aren't like a fly-by-night type place, which I know you're not, but explain to everybody else why you're not.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll start from the top on that. We're a publicly traded company. We've done over $150 billion in transactions. We've been around 20 years. We've been working with Amazon sellers for, I believe, the past 5 or 6 years now. And really, this is a growth area for the company. We have a lot of focus. We hold dedicated teams to this. And yeah, we're very proud to be a part of the Amazon partner program. There's only a few other companies that are in there right now. So there was obviously a lot of back and forth and vetting that Amazon had to do, reviewing the companies that they're allowing into that, just like anything that Amazon does. So we feel that's good, because if you're not with a partner program company, there's going to be issues with that pretty soon. So some of the other groups that kind of do something similar to us, but haven't gone through that with Amazon, they're basically recommending that you have to switch to a group that is part of the Amazon Partner Program. So we're getting a lot of clients switching over from other groups now. It's been a huge inflow of groups that just want to be safe. Like I said, we're a publicly traded company. We've got offices around the world. All of our employees are in-house in our different offices, and all of our offices are in like global financial centers, London, San Francisco, Toronto, Hong Kong, Sydney, etc. So it's 24/7. So it's very safe. We're obviously registered with FinCEN in all the different states. We're Australian owned. It's very, and we're publicly listed in Australia, and Australia has very stringent public requirements, which is really amazing and really good. And it keeps, obviously our shareholders and our company very secure and safe. We're probably one of the most conservative groups out there. And that can be good or bad. If you like your money, I think you usually want to have your money with a conservative group, right? So I think that's always a benefit on that side. And we have major companies that use us and recommend us because we're one of the more conservative groups. We're not a startup. We're not like 3 or 4 years old. And, in these stages where we're not building out stable environments for our clients. We were one of the only groups open for Brexit because of that stability and that kind of conservative nature of what we do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've actually, pre-COVID, I've been to the OFX office several times. We've had meetups there and here in the Bay Area. It was really cool. Jason's a great host. So what you guys could do is, if you're interested in getting more information on OFX, head on over to accrueme.com. Check out the podcast page. I will have all Jason's contact information in there for you, including a link to the site and some contact info over there for you to get a hold of him. And feel free to get a hold of him, ask him any questions maybe we missed, or if you're interested in getting an account set up with them, be sure to head over to accrueme.com, find the podcast, and all his information is there. So everybody, I really appreciate, Jason, I really appreciate you being on the podcast with me, the Seller Growth Podcast.
Thanks.
And it took us a while to schedule this, and we had a little technical difficulty, but yeah, just real quick. So thank you so much. And everybody, be sure, if you go over to Accrueme, also do that free 3-minute instant funding estimate and mention the podcast. And on behalf of myself, Rob Stanley, and the Seller Growth Podcast, I'd like to thank Jason Kumpf from OFX being on with us. And every Tuesday and Thursday, be sure to tune in. We always have somebody new on providing great information, just like Jason did. So we'll see everybody next week. Thanks again, Jason.
Thanks a lot. And by the way, if you use the Accrueme link, you're going to get a discount on your rates. So your rates are going to be a little bit better than just going directly to OFX. So, thank you to Accrueme. Thank you for Rob. Rob's always got great information. What a treasure trove of information he's divulging each week, like multiple times a week too. This is beast mode, man. That's awesome. Yeah, great.
All right. Well, thank you, Jason. And everybody tune in next week. We'll see you then.
Take care.